It's summer, and so that means my schedule has changed dramatically as I have small children that are now out of school, or at least one small child that is out of school and another child that I do not know what to do with. So my schedule for streaming has changed quite a bit, and I was very anxious to get this tool done before summer, or before the end of summer. It's an animation tool that I've been wanting to build forever. And so that's what I'm talking about today. I actually took the week off from work. My daughter's in camp. My other daughter is staying with her grandmother across town. So I have some time this week to work on an animation tool, and I'm going to try and make the most of it. So that's where we're at. Now, the purpose of this tool is really to replace three tools that I use a lot. The first one is the one you're looking at right now. This is a tool called Vue, V-U-E, just like the JavaScript framework, except nothing to do with the JavaScript framework. They had the name first. It's a zooming tool where you can create little nodes, you can type text in them, and you can drag them around the screen. It's really wonderful for making diagrams, for laying out your ideas very quickly. And I've actually used this as a tool for animation to draw like diagrams and then taken snapshots of them. So not really animations, but to make slideshows, presentations. And it's a wonderful tool, and I love it to death. But it does not have animation support. It doesn't have thumbnail support. It's not easy to put stuff on the web. And as far as I can tell, it's not really been maintained for quite some time. This is at Tufts University, about Vue. You can see that it goes to vue.tufts.edu. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's written in Java. You can download it, try it out, and it has a lot of things for working with graphs and the semantic web and things like that. You can stick images in it. You can do all kinds of wonderful things with it. You can make presentations just in the tool, zooming around, by controlling the camera, moving around the user interface, that kind of thing, around on this infinite canvas. It's a really nice system. So and I use it quite a bit. But in fact, I've used it in many of my videos, both like I said, as a presentation tool and just to mark ideas up like this, like what I'm doing. I use it for brainstorming and so on. So I'd like to be able to have something that takes this idea and pushes it a little bit further. So oops, excuse me. As you can see, you can also just rapidly create like little networks of things. You can type something here, blah blah blah, and then you can now you have a diagram, and you can change the colors and fonts and all that kind of stuff. Really nice tool for creating mind maps or drawings or diagrams or just getting ideas out in the world. So that's goal number. I guess it's in the middle here, but that's goal number. middle goal is to replace Vue. I have another tool called Pileup, which I made a small video about, porting that to Pharo as well. That is a tool for taking notes that are also very much on this little scraps of paper, dragging them around kind of thing. And I have, as I said, done some work on porting that to Pharo and to Glamorous Toolkit. I don't know if I have it handy, probably not, but let's see. And sorry, I'll just go ahead and pull that up. Okay, all right. I love CouchDB. I made a little bit of progress since I worked on it last time, but the idea is that you have there's a database called CouchDB that allows you to store things in kind of JSON blobs, and I have these tools now that let me, or this tool now that takes the data out of there and allows me to drag it around. It's actually a little bit weird now because I've added some support for dragging and dropping, grouping, and then kind of got distracted and called away, and I just have not had time to do anything with it. So you can select something and you can't really drag the group yet. So you can select a group, but you can't drag it. And right, I actually had a right-click menu working for a little bit. It's not working at the moment. So that's actually kind of like my least priority of the three. But it would be nice to have some way to transparently save these things as you're working. And the nice thing about Pileup, as I started, it started out as a web application, and it's just live editing. So you just edit the database, and then it's done, just like a piece of paper. There's no save button or anything like that. But then the third one is Godot. So I use Godot as an animation tool, and I play animations when I make my scripted videos, which is really what I wanted to be doing with my channel, right? Is to make scripted videos where I record some interaction with a computer, put it on the screen, record that interaction, and write a script that I don't have a lot of like mumbling and figuring out where I'm trying to figure out my words as I'm speaking, right? This is all impromptu on these streams, and I just know for a fact that my retention, my people like it much better when I plan up beforehand, and it's hard to do that. So it's hard to do that, and well, I'd like to spend more time doing that. I'd like to put more effort into that, but I also want to be able to visualize things, and that has been a blocker for me for a long time. Just the animation tools. There are a million animation tools out there. There's Blender. Godot itself has just amazing animation. There's Rive. There's Pencil 2D. There's Photoshop. And just so many tools, and I've used many animation tools. None of them really have the scriptability that I want, because I'm usually talking about algorithms, and I want to illustrate an algorithm as it's running. So even though they have the flexibility to let me, draw anything I want, the animations that I want to draw really need to be driven by a program. And you can do that to some extent in Godot. You can do that to some extent in, say, Macromedia, what's called Animator now, used to be called Flash, or Adobe Animator, used to be called Macromedia Flash, and then Adobe Flash. And I looked at that, and I looked at some of the others, and I don't know. My heart is kind of set on trying this in Smalltalk, because Smalltalk has traditionally had this live environment where you've got your graphics, you've got your code, you can run things live, you can inspect things live, and I feel like that's the way to go. I could be wrong. This could be a complete disaster, but I have an idea in my mind. I've wanted this forever, and this is my week to try it. A week is not long enough to make an animation tool from scratch, for sure. However, I am using Glamorous Toolkit, which has all of these building blocks like already made. There is animation support in here. There are numerous Smalltalk animation frameworks. There are some different things that are already built. So I think there's a reasonable chance that I can get. I'm not going to get on. I'm not going to reach parity with like Blender or Macromedia, with an animator, right? But I think I can get enough on the screen to get these kinds of diagrams, the text in space kind of user interface working, and be able to drag those around and have the lines connecting them and so on, because that already exists in this tool. There's already support for the network diagrams and the arrows and the layouts and all those things. So as I say, I think there's a really good chance I can make something happen, and at least get enough to present the kind of ideas that I want to present. I've got a long list of animations that I want to make, so I'm going to try. All right, I think that's enough talking about this. Let's just jump in and write some code. So I showed this a little while ago, not on this stream, but I actually recorded this a little while ago, and I'm going to upload that as a separate video. But I made this little widget that is a slider, and I think that is the basis of my timeline. So I actually have a second page where I started drawing a timeline. So let's bring this up. Yeah, and I had done some work to make something, and I've stuck it in this class called GS Timeline. GS is for Game Sketch Lib, which is my it's currently the name of the of the library I'm using on top of things. It's a name I came up with a long time ago for something I did in processing. I don't know if I'm going to keep that name, but that's what I'm calling it right now. And I have this little tool where you can drag, or actually I'm pressing left and right on my mouse's scroll wheel. It has it has a tilt axis, and it can let me scroll back and forth. The actual drag and drop that I get with glamorous toolkit is a little weird. You can see I'm dragging to the left, and it drags the thumb to the right. So that's a little confusing. And also, I see. I can also scroll up and down. Okay. So yeah. So what I have here are frame numbers, and this is meant to be the timeline. So this is frame 0, and this little column right here is frame 0, then frame 1, frame 2, and so on. That would be frame 5, and that's frame 10. So that's the plan, is to take something like this. This would be, then going down the list, it says 1, 2, 3, those are tracks. I'm going to ignore this issue right now. I've started a conversation on the Glamorous Toolkit Discord, and also I'm going to add the thing up here so that I can just drag back and forth, and hopefully that'll make it work the way I want to work anyway. So it's actually going to replace, it may even replace the scroll bar, because it kind of has to act very much like a scroll bar. So maybe I have it say that when it comes over here, we start dragging that way. I don't know. I dug into the code for this. I found it a little confusing. I found it extremely confusing. You look at, like, you dig into the classes, and there's nothing that says, like, connect a mouse to the, listen to the mouse for events, So I don't know how it works. It seems like it's a little bit of ravioli code, or maybe I'm just not seeing the big picture. I hate to criticize the thing, but it just doesn't make sense to me yet. Maybe I just haven't dug far enough. But anyway, I'm planning to take this tool, so this slider widget tool, and drag this in here. And then my hope is that by the end, at least by the end of the week, I'll have a timeline on the screen, and maybe I should pull up, like, kind of what my goal is here. So this is my goal, is to have something on the screen where I can drag this thing back and forth, and there'll be horizontal bars here that start at a particular frame. Either, like here we have something, I just, as an example, it says sprite index. So meaning maybe I've got a like a pixel sprite or something like that, and each frame is being added as each cell of the animation is being set on each frame of the video. Or it could be like the ball location, right? So the idea is I'm going to have a bouncing ball. That's kind of one of my goal animations is just this one right here. So I have a bouncing ball that bounces, and I want it to kind of stretch and squash, squash and stretch and squash. I think those are the terms they use in the animation language, and follow a an arc and bounce out of the way. I'm actually, as an example of kind of the programmatic aspect of this, I was thinking of, like, could I make like a very simple physics engine with Verlet integration? That's a very simple way to just create physics for a scene. And the thought would be, well, I could take that and record it, or try and fit a curve to the actual route that a ball takes. Actually do like a physics simulation, record it, and then now that's a piece of animation. And that, to me, would be the kind of thing that I'm looking for in an animation tool. Something where you can convert programmatic output to record the output basically, and then now be able to, like, scrub back and forth and, like, see that happen in reverse, and then compose that with other animations that are done by hand or whatever. So that's kind of the idea. It's pretty vague on paper, but once I have this, I think that's the goal. So what we're looking at here is pretty much like modeled after Godot, the way Godot does its animation tool. I actually don't have an animation system up here and running, but we could say insert a node. So let's just call it a color rect, I think. We can make a color rectangle, and we can pick a color, right? And then now we have a little red square, right? And then the idea would be, well, we're going to add some animation. So we need to create an animation player, add that to the scene, and then let's see, we'll give this an animation. I'm expecting there to be a button here that says add an animation. Animation new. Okay, so we say bounce, something like this. And then we're going to add a track. And so the track is going to be, say, the location of this thing. So we have location, rotation, and scaling. We're going to turn these on. This is like record the keyframes. So as I move around here, we can just say, go ahead and we're going to keep the whatever, but keep the color that way. These keys also let you create a thing. So we're going to create a property track for the color rect, and we're going to give it, we're going to record its position. I'm not sure why that happens, but then if we go to, we also have to tell it we want it to run for like, I don't know, 20, is it 20 seconds or 20 frames? Yeah, I guess it's 20 seconds. And then, so right around the 2-second mark, we're gonna put it right here. Position, and I would think the rotation would do it, but it didn't. It's supposed to. Oh, maybe you have to hit record. So then then you can see it inserted a key. So we leave it here and then go back to 0. And whoops, that was not correct. And we're going to put this back at, wow. What am I doing wrong? Yeah, okay, whatever. So put this back at like 0, 0, whatever. Doesn't really matter. And so then, now when we play it, you can see it moves down like that. And then the question would be, well, do you want it to just go in a straight line, or do you want it to follow like a little bounce or something like that? And I don't actually think you can make it bounce. I think if you wanted to follow it like a nice curve, you would have to like, trace that curve yourself. I think you can create like a path 2D in here, something like that. Path 2D, right? So you can create a path 2D, and path 2Ds have path 2D. You can say start a point here, and start a point here. Nope, I didn't do it. Do it again. There we go. And I think then, I don't know a lot about this. All right, so I think if we take that tool now, we can do this, and then where are the control points? There we go. Right, so now we can make something like this. We can make it have a curve. But I don't think you can. I think you can programmatically make something follow this. But as far as I know, you can't. So let's get rid of this. You can't make it just follow this path. Maybe you can. Your cubic capture? I don't know. I don't know what the capture is. But anyway, what I want to do is be able to draw the path and have it follow this. So that's what I'm looking for. And let's see. No. Nope. Yeah, this is just not. Like this is a nice tool. It really is a nice tool, but it can be frustrating sometimes. And let's see, maybe if I need to bring this down. I don't know. The model is definitely here in Godot for the way I want to do things, because in addition to this, you can script animations. You can create your own scripted animations and fire off code that you run in the editor or in at runtime, and that makes it really nice to be able to write code And so that's what I've used before. Okay, what? Why did it go there? I told it to go back up here, right? Did it not record that scene? Yeah, okay. There you go. All right, so now, I mean, you know, by just by sticking one keyframe in there, you can kind of like, you know, fake it a little bit. But ideally, it would follow, like I said, be able to follow like a physics path, like actually, you know, generate a path with physics. Now record that, bake that in, and then, you know, reverse it, right? So that's something you can do in Blender very easily. I don't need a full 3D physics engine, obviously, but maybe you can even do that in Godot. I don't know. I've done some work with using Godot to programmatically generate animations. So I used a lip syncing tool that I recorded myself talking, and I have like a little pixel version of myself with different, you know, mouth shapes. And there's an open source tool called Rhubarb that lets you take an audio recording and then tell you what the phonemes are. So then you can map those to the mouth shapes, and then you can lip sync animation. And so I took the output of Rhubarb, and I have a little tool that takes the output of Rhubarb and generates an animation that you can then tweak on your own. So it actually generates this timeline down here for a sprite, and it says, okay, set it to this frame, this frame, this frame, this frame at these particular times. I suppose if that's a use case, then I probably do want to be able to show time as well as, you know, like here, these are talking in terms of time. This is 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. Whereas generally in an animation tool for video, let's say Flash, for example, you're talking about frames rather than times, and that's because it's video, and so you can set the frame rate to be exactly 24 frames per second or whatever. That and since I am working for video, that's kind of the mentality I want. But you know, when you're recording a piece of audio, it's not recorded in frames. It's, you know, it's recorded in time. So probably I should have both of those on the timeline. So that's the goal. So between these two things, hopefully that gives you an idea of what it is I'm trying to make. And now I'm just going to jump in and let's start coding. What does this say? Context menu. Okay, that was some button that yeah. Okay, so so far I've created this thing called GS Timeline new as element. So I created a class called GS Timeline. If I hit Control B on that, it lets me browse it. So I have make the track list. That's just a simple list that goes up and down. And it's hard coded to have these things 1, 2, and 3. Make the scroll pane. That's the thing that goes left and right with the weird little scroll bar. And then I guess I already have a class called GS Grid UI that if I create and I just run that and inspect it, it actually creates this timeline. So I guess the next thing I want to do is I want to add the little slider thing that I added, the cursor thing. I'm not exactly sure how it should be composed, but I'm just going to take the basic idea that I had before, which is just take this BL element, which is, everything in this graphics framework. The framework is called Block, and then on top of that is Brick. Brick is the widget framework. So Block is the low-level vector graphic stuff, and then underneath that, there's even a just draw a line on the canvas layer called Sparta. So let's see. I'm going to take just one of these things. I guess I don't know if I need this or not. As I said, I already did a little video on this, but basically you slide this around and it sends out events, and then it says like where we are from the events it sends out, say where it is based on taking the length of this thing and dividing it. But I think I think what I want is to have it whenever you set the width, or set the X position of this slider, is it really needs to snap to a frame. You're never going to be able to look at like partway through a frame, even though you can. Well, you can here because this is a game engine and the number of frames per second is variable. This is meant to be run live. Whereas in Blender, I think I have Blender pulled up. Yeah, in Blender, it's in terms of frames. You start at frame 1 and at frame 250, and then you have to tell the rendering engine how to encode those frames, like how many frames per second do you want your generated video to be. I actually couldn't figure out how to make that same animation in Blender yet. This UI is a little more confusing to me. Like in theory, it should be the same. I'm pretty sure you can have like, insert keyframes, and it should be exactly the same. But I wasn't able to figure out how to make the keyframe. I don't see a key button, and there is a thing that says active keying set, but you have to like decide what the keying set is, and I haven't gotten that far yet. So probably I need to do some. I've done this in the past, so I used to edit video in Blender, so I probably just I'm out of practice, and I've done special effects in Blender. Some even animations like the kind I'm talking about in Blender. Blender is also scriptable with Python. So it is a contender for the kind of thing I'm looking for. But as I said, I just really like the live aspect of Smalltalk, and my hope is that I'll be able to work on the tool while I'm making animations, and I don't know. I have a little vision, and I have a week to spend on it, so that's what we're doing. All right, my desk is really squeaky every day. I can get it to stop squeaking so much. There we go. Take the leg a little bit. More of a triangle, a trapezoid shape now. All right. All right, let's see what we got. So let's just take this BB slider thing for now. And I don't want it exactly that way because so this one so far is I believe the way I did this class. Yeah, if I look here, then when I say initialize, it's still hard coded to 256 pixels, or points rather. There are no pixels in block. It's meant to be size independent, but at the default size, 1 pixel is one point. So, but actually this is not the default size. I actually have it scaled by 1.2, by a scaling factor of 1.2. So I think what I need to do is take this basic concept and do the same thing. So I'm going to add track and cursor, and I'm not going to try and do an inherit or anything. I'm just going to copy the code over. So what did I say? Track, not track. The track was the thing that it slides on, but we have a track list, so I guess it would have its own track. I'm gonna ignore that and just call it a cursor. So, and I'm gonna add that as a temporary variable. Oh, sorry, that's not what I wanted. Not a temporary variable. Add slot cursor. Now when we come up here and we look at the member variables, now it says cursor. End of statement expected. Yep, correct. It needs a dot. It needs a period at the end. And then we have to create this method. So we're going to create this method. Boom. And then we're going to save this one. And then in default cursor, now we'll return something that was basically the same thing as what we had before. So default cursor should be just draw a box and then add the event handler. I'm actually going to call that make cursor because I don't expect this to be overridden. So Control R to rename, and we just call it make cursor. Check the box. Now the refactoring is done, and it says make cursor down here now. Oops, one. I think these are alphabetized. So make cursor, and we're going to have it return this field element new size whatever 8 by 16 border color. All right. and we say, I believe this is the class. If we say self, and then we get the class. Yeah, it's DS timeline class. So we say self new as element, and there we go. Do I really want to say as element? It could just, it is a GS object, so I could just have it, rather than saying as element, I'll just, I'll call this build. Oh, okay, build element. And this is already used in, okay. Build, just make. Build widget. Okay. So then we just say build widget. Self build widget. No. What happened there? Okay. All right, so now we just have to say self new. And we still get this. Do we? No. Self build widget. Oh, now let's call this make pane, make UI. What just happened there? Why didn't it rename it? It completely removed that. Maybe it wasn't saved? I'm not sure. All right, so self make UI. Oh, save this. Well, what's happening? Self make UI. So we want to say self add child. Wow. This editor is acting very strange today. I've never seen this. It be this like weird. Very confusing to me. You know what? That is just fine to me. That is just fine. Dang it. Okay, I want it to be that. Why can't I? Why, okay, fine. I disagree with this whole notion. Just everything is just suddenly broken here. Can't delete this. Wow. Okay, just everything is broken. You know, somebody had a paper on the Discord for this thing, for Glamorous Toolkit, and one of the points in the paper really struck me, and he said that piece of software, he was making the distinction between software that is exploratory and software that is mature, and basically a piece of software can only be as mature as its least mature dependency, right? And that's exactly what I'm seeing here. Like, I'm cautious about this because like Brick and Block are like really nice toolkits. Conceptually, they're really nice, but they are not finished, and there is some danger here. My thought is to work with them. I want to learn as much as I can, and at some point in the future, I strongly suspect that I will wind up porting this to another platform, possibly Flutter, using Dart, something that has static typing and some amount of the live feedback, and you know, still has like a dynamic runtime where you can actually write code, but a little bit more stable, I think, and it has Google behind it. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm trying to give this a shot. Yeah, I don't really want to fall back to Morphic, which is like the legacy Smalltalk UI. I really like the coding environment here when it's behaving. I don't always like the way it's acting today, but anyway. Yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. But I just want to like power through. Like as I said, I only have like I've done some work in Flutter, but I don't have enough time to like really learn Flutter. I don't, you know, I don't really have any UI framework where I'm 100% competent right now. I certainly have like experience on the web, and I do want this to go on the web, but I also want it to go on the native, and so, you know, I don't know, like live editing is the number one thing for me. Live editing and live inspection of the objects that are running right now. Smalltalk gives me that. This UI is giving me some trouble, but they're also working on it. They're pretty responsive. I'm learning enough about it that I might be able to start fixing my own problems in the near future. You know, I'm willing to take a chance on this technology because I think they have a lot of things going for it. And then I'm going to, you know, at the end, though, I expect that I'll probably take what I learn here, take my objects and port it to another system that is comparable in capability, something that, you know, again, Flutter is what I'm thinking of. In fact, okay, that's enough rambling. For now, it's my goal is, you know, the choice of technology is not up for debate. This is what I'm using for this week. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna work with whatever problems we have. We're gonna see what we have. We're gonna stick with it and see what happens. All right, so I'm also gonna stop trying to make tricks like this happen, like refactorings and stuff like this, because I don't really need to have this name. I can't even delete this function. Okay, so let's see if I can just if I reset this thing by just starting a new one of these. We have as element. This works, right? This now works again? No. Instance of GS Grid UI did not understand as element. What happened there? Make UI. Ah, I renamed it all the way up to the top? That's crazy. I think that's exactly what happened. And it's not going to let me change this. Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right, so I have to add anything called as element, and then we're going to add this to it. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. That was the cause of my trouble. Boom. Because if you look at the parent, right, when if I refresh this, nope. Oh, I see. It's an object. Okay. And GS timeline, if it has an as element, is going to be an object as well, and that could be part of the problem. So if we change this and we change the superclass to object, maybe. See, that's weird though. That why would it change? I don't even know. Save that. That works now. We'll click on this. We're going to change the superclass to just object. because it is not an object of its own yet. I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like this pattern of creating all the subcomponents and then saying as element. That's what I was trying to get out of. But then I have to make this be a container that contains, that contains a BR horizontal pane. Which maybe that's what I want. I don't know. I mean, that kind of is what I want. So if I ignore the as element part and I say self add child make UI self make UI as I'm gonna call it UI, right? That doesn't work unless, okay, we save this. It doesn't work because it's not a GS object. But if we make it a GS object, which is just a subclass, just a thin wrapper around BL element, right? With some extra features on it. All right, now, if I run this now, it should work. Can I add child that's already added? Yeah, I don't want the as element. 1, 2, okay. Right. And then we say H match parent and B fit content. Just match parent, okay. What if I say fit content though? Okay. But in that case, then like this is kind of what I want, where I don't want to have to say as element all the time. I think that was a wrong move. Let's remove that. So go ahead and delete that method. Make UI. Make scroll pane. Yeah, and make UI. So we have both the track list and the scroll pane. Okay, so and then in initialize. Match parent. Self match parent. And then we just say GS timeline new, and we drop it in any context, and it should work. All right. I like that better. And I think I'm going to do the same thing for GS grid, and then I'm going to check all this code in. Boom. So instead of as element, we're going to say what is make UI here? Same thing. Right, so we're gonna remove this. Actually, we'll just move this to initialize. And we'll just say self add child right, and then this won't work, and then this won't work. Boom. As element, we're going to get rid of boom, and then we're going to call this make this a GS object. I'll inspect GS object here and we'll see what it actually does. It really doesn't do much of anything. It's just kind of like a marker class. I think I added I added this. I had it use this trait, so it uses TBR layout resizable, and that adds this fit content and H exact and H horizontal local. It adds these little methods to make it these sizing methods that I use like all the time that are normally only used by widgets. So I added those, and then but just by adding this thing, that adds like almost all these methods. And then I added this child at point, which lets you give it a point and then select a child in the scene, which I found is. I think those are the only two things I added here. Yeah. They're all from before, and then this, and then initialization. Oh, that should definitely be in the initialize protocol. Initialize. That should be called. We should call it initialization. Initialization. Okay. So now when we browse, we have one thing here, we have this one here, we have these two things here. Okay, so that's all that game GS object does. Otherwise, it's just a plain old BL element, which is like the base thing for anything visible on the screen in block. And so now when I run this, I would expect, if I see references to this class, we need to change this to say, to get rid of as element. Although as element actually just returns itself, so that actually should work. What does it say? Why is this underlined? Oh, because I was searching for it. I was just searching for a reference. Okay, so that yellow line indicates that it came from here. Okay, so on my helper, I draw a grid on the screen. I draw a grid on the screen. Actually, currently, I only have vertical lines. But the intent is that would be a actual piece of graph paper kind of thing. And then you just turn off the horizontal lines. Okay. Alrighty. All right, so now we can say GS timeline new. We get this thing that we had before, and we're going to check this in. And that'll be that. All right, so TS Pharaoh is where I'm storing this at the moment. Changes. I need this here. Looks like I already had this. I'm going to revert this change. TS Pharaoh, animation timeline, tangent storm, as element, make UI, TS class browser. Oh yeah, I don't want that. I don't know why that. I don't know how I triggered that to like change this. Oh, see, look at that. GS element is, oh, everywhere it's done this. All right, revert these changes. I have no idea how I triggered that to happen, because I don't believe that's the way the thing is supposed to happen. Okay, I just have to revert all these changes now. Maybe there's an easier way to do that, but I'm just going to keep. These are all the same thing, right? New build widget. Yeah, I know. Did not. Yeah, it. That was the refactoring browser that went a little crazy, and I triggered it, but I don't know how I triggered it that way. I was not expecting that behavior. Right, this is a change I want to make. GS object. That is a change I want to make. That was just where I renamed the class or the protocol. Protocols don't do anything in Smalltalk except affect the UI for how you organize things and how you query them. Match parents. Okay, this is actually a valid change, but it has nothing to do with what I'm doing now. And I think can just revert it and I'll deal with it another time. Like, I don't know if I even want to keep it, so it was something to do with the context menu. Okay, make graph layout as element, build widget. This is again, this is wasting my time. I don't want to throw away all my changes, right? So I probably could do this more easily, but not that much. All right, GS timeline. This is a new class, okay. Make UI, and we're going to get rid of that, right? GS horizontal pane new. No, we actually wanted that in this one because then we say add child make UI as UI, okay. And instance variable names, okay, so it is a new class, and then this is new. Yeah, this should not have leaked out to this at all. This is a different even package. I wonder if it leaked all the way up to BL. Because, like, BL element, I think it did. All right, I'm going to commit this. Let's just double check. So if I go to BL element, and now it's going to have something called, if I browse this, it probably has make UI in here. I wouldn't know where it would be. Methods, make UI. Yeah, it does. And that's what as element used to do. I noticed that as element wasn't showing up for after I changed this back. So yeah, it changed like everything. That was a runaway refactoring. I do not want to keep that. I'm going to commit this here, and then I'm going to just close and reopen this without all those changes in memory. Reopen Glamorous Toolkit. So restore the old version of the image. Okay. Right, and add GS time. So we're going to commit that. Perils of live coding. All right, we can even push that. And now we're going to exit. Do not, or just quit. As I say, there's probably a better way to recover from that, or a different way to recover from that. And there was probably something that was alerting me, and I just completely ignored that. Maybe I didn't. Maybe nothing alerted me that I'm about to change like 8 million files. All right, it's coming back up. It does take a moment to start. I think this is going to be the change list. Somehow, something triggers a change list to show up sometimes. Here is taking its time. Barrel up to date. Commits. Changes. Yeah, detach working copy. Okay. So we're going to discard this because, again, I don't need this. This is a context menu thing that I was working on at some point. I never saved it because I wasn't sure if I liked it. So I'm going to get rid of it. So when I hit repair, that'll sync me up. It'll discard everything that's different in the working copy, and it'll just load the version of everything that I just checked in. And now if I say BL element, we open that up, we search for make UI, that should not exist. Yeah, it's only in GS timeline, which is the only place it should be. Although I do think there's a make UI with a capital letter somewhere. Oh, I guess I had used that as a temporary name in GS app. Okay. All right, so we're back to where we should be. I'm not sure why I have two windows open. This is actually the Morphic world. I don't. You can explicitly launch this, but I don't know why it came up by default. All right, so let's close all these windows that I don't need, and then we'll save the Programmer's Toolkit book. That's the manual. Agreed is something for making forms. I'm probably going to be using that in this project, but I'm not ready to talk about that yet. Our widget model, or actually, it's a tool for describing your data and like what, and then from that you can generate forms. VR widget model. This is me looking into how view models work. VR actor and widget model are kind of the similar things. There's not a lot of documentation, so I'm kind of exploring the block source code here. BL event, BL UI event. Don't need this for right now. A simple numeric input field. This was something I was working on to for my slider. I wanted to have an input field that is only going to allow you to input numbers with decimal points. I don't think I actually need that now. Arrow. Slider widget, Mondrian. I just kind of show that this already exists. You know, all this drag and drop UI stuff already exists. So I'm just going to start animating things that are generated with the tools that are already there. I hope. All right, so I need to reopen something. So I guess I gotta. Animation timeline is the page I want to work on, and we've reduced it to this one class. Boom, and then I'm just going to save it as. I'm going to save this. And now the next time I open the next time I open Glamorous, will be right here at this point, unless I save again. Okay. Okay. Great. So now. So when I made GS object, there was also something called GS app. I look at the hierarchy here. I want the hierarchy for GS object. So I look at the hierarchy for GS object. Is GS app? GS app is not a GS object. Let me show you what I'm getting at though. When I have a GS app, right? Oh. Well, okay, hang on. If you say self new, if you're inspecting a GS app, yeah, you have this button up here. And that button allows you to, but maybe that is true for GS object as well. Self new? Oh, you do, okay. No, that's open in space. Whereas here we have, it doesn't have a tooltip. Open in space should open a new window, right? Okay, so there's a button that looks like this, but I have another button. The two buttons are not the same. This is, so GS object extends BL element, and any BL element has this button right here. This is open in space. When you click on it, it should pop up a new window that has this object in it. It is not doing that here. But okay. A GS app, when you click on this window, it actually opens a new copy of the thing you're working on. And so the idea here is that now you can edit the text of the class. You can change how you want. Here's the make UI that I expected to be there. And it's describing how to make that scene. And then when you click on this, you can now edit that and then click it to run it again. And then, so on. I kind of like that. I kind of like that workflow. But because this is not a, this must have an as element, right? UI, right? I don't really know the right, like, this is one of the things I'm struggling with. Like, I don't know the right way to build things in this framework yet. And I'm not sure anyone does. And if they do, they haven't told me yet, right? And it's not really obvious from, like, if I look at just like BR button, right? What does BR button do? Well, it's a subclass of BL element. And when I click on initialization, right? Initialize, what does it do? It calls super, and then it like, if I just say self new here, what do I get? Self new, or just BR button new, right? I get a button. Right? There's nothing to see. You see nothing. There's nothing to look at. Match parent. Nothing. If we say label hello, no. All right, so that's why I don't know what to do. If I go to BR button examples, nope, I didn't want that. I'll open this one. So a new button. Let's run all the examples. BR button new, okay. And if we click on examples, we can actually see like what they return. So they all returned a button. And we can see the results. Oh, I don't want the label app. You'd expect one of them to look like a button, right? I have to click here, right? There we go. Okay, so that one is live. That's a button. So my point is that I don't understand this architecture yet. And I think, you know, in object-oriented programming, there's been a shift away from using inheritance towards using composition. And so this is a reflection of that trend, right? This framework is a reflection of that trend. There isn't a circle class so much as you have a BL element, and then you give it a BL ellipse geometry where the size is, you know, 5 at 5, right? You know, it's a point that is, you know, the width and the height are the same. It's just an ellipse of width and the height are the same. And then if you want to change the color of that, well, then it has a color property and so on. So all these things combine to make the thing be a red circle or whatever. But a button, you know, by the time you get to the widget layer, like, I would expect a button out of the box to do something. And that is not the philosophy that this thing takes. that this framework takes. Everything is combined, and so button with look, button and look with label and exterior. Button and look. Label and exterior. Okay, so that's this one, right? And it's supposed to be like hovering, right? You're supposed to do like different things on hover, but it does not, as far as I can tell. So I don't know if I'm sold on this, right? Like it feels like, well, I'm not sure I understand it well enough to criticize it, but like it's hard for me to understand it. Like this is taking things. Why does it not have a live example? Why does this one have a live? No, it doesn't. When you click on here, how do I make? What am I doing to make the live button appear? Okay, that one when I double click, I get it. When I double click, I don't get it. I single click and I get it, but nothing's there. Yeah, I don't know. This does not seem like a good example of a button to me, right? This is not what I think of as a button. Like maybe this is an example of a button, but it's not. It doesn't hover. It doesn't have any kind of effects or anything like that. I don't really understand that. Button with label look. This seems like it's broken, right? It doesn't have a label. It has a look for a label, but it doesn't have any text in it. This is the only one that does. Where it finally has some self new button label and then aptitude a button look, right? There's something. I just don't get it. I don't get it, and it hasn't been explained to me, and you know, through documentation or whatever. Right? Like I think if I even go here, I'm not going to spend this whole time talking about widgets. I look for widgets under the name pages, right? I should say something about buttons here. Button. Oh, I see. So they replaced. They have BR Glamorous components buttons. Okay, so with label is what? Oops. I don't know what I did wrong. So you have to say BR Glamorous button with label aptitude. And by the time you get to this thing, it's like, well, I don't know. Like I don't know. It feels like it feels like either they're taking this composition approach to the extreme, And combining that with the lack of documentation makes it just very hard to understand. And with the hope that someday in the future that, you know, either like, you know, BR button will do something more logical, you know, on by itself, or there'll be notes saying, okay, this is a tool for making a button, right? Like this is a button toolkit. It's not a button. It's like, what is BR button? I don't know. Like clear, this does nothing, right? So I think maybe I just don't even know. I just don't even understand this. So like half of what a button is lives in this aptitude thing. And maybe an aptitude is like just a critical part of being a button, right? I really don't know. Really don't understand that. But I don't have to understand it to use this, right? I just have to, you know, I just have to, like what happens if you run this like without the, right? If I just take this and let's just open a new playground, right? And we get rid of this part right here. We run this, we get the button, right? Boom, boom, boom. Everything has hovered, has click. There's 3 different shades of gray, light blue, dark blue, right? And if I take this out, I think it does nothing at all. Yeah, it doesn't render anything. So I really need to understand what aptitudes are to get my head around block. Because it's not clear to me at all what BR button does without this aptitude, right? But the aptitude itself, like, what is it? Like, what is? So you add a button exterior aptitude. You add a rectangular aptitude. Okay. Okay. So the button exterior aptitude, like, it's just like, what is all these things? Background paint, default background color, button default background color, self theme button. That has some support for theming, right? It's like, well, what is? I don't know. But what causes it to display the text, right? Is it that it just has no like without this line, right? We inspect it, right? Like widget, it's got a model and all this stuff, styles, properties, children, shortcuts, user data, preview, nothing. Okay. Overview. What is the size? 0 at 50. Okay. So what if we say fit content? 0 is 0. But once you add it to something, it should be, oh, okay. Exact. 50 at 50, right? You would expect this to show something, do something. Once okay, so get rid of this. And then once we add the aptitude, and let's look at the widget then. Yeah, see now it adds the aptitude, and then the aptitude contains what? I don't know. A weird tree. Your icon model, button exterior aptitude. This is really hard to read. I don't know. So I don't want to spend all week learning more. I mean, I do want to learn more about Glamorous, but that's not the goal here. But I don't understand the architecture of this thing. That is clear to me. So it doesn't make any sense for me to try and emulate the architecture of this, because I'm not going to use this architecture until I understand it, at least. So if block and brick evolve to the point where they have documentation that explain why they're doing things this way, then maybe I'll understand it. And maybe I'll say, oh yeah, it makes sense to decompose my timeline into pieces like this. But I don't see it right now. This makes no sense to me. I mean, I guess this is like, I understand aptitudes are a little bit like CSS classes. They're like style sheets. They're like, they bring a bunch of stuff with them. So you add this one thing, and now you can use it lots of different places. But I don't know. I just haven't really. I'm not seeing it yet. I'm not seeing the vision or like what the point of this is yet. Okay, so enough of me just being confused, because that is not the way to get to a piece of software. Point is, if I want to make a button, I will just copy this piece of code and I will just add this weird aptitude thing that I don't understand. I don't actually need a button right now, and I should expect more of that to happen in the future. Okay, more of that nonsense. All right, so let's forget about all this. All right. What do I want to change here? I want to add a little slidey thing. That's what I want to do. Add this little slidey thing, and it seems to already. You can see it doesn't work. You have to keep sliding it right. Nope. Sometimes this slides in the right direction. Sometimes it doesn't. But now it's not sliding at all. I want to get rid of this. What do I do to change this? What's the next step? I want to add that little track. So the cursor says self make cursor. The cursor is not appearing. Make cursor. Well, we never actually added it to the scene, and nothing adds it there. So let's do this. Self add child make UI, and then just add a new child on top of it. Add child, and we'll do this cursor. We'll self make cursor as cursor. So that should be out of the layout. So the UI is the thing that has the horizontal pane, and so then this should be on top of it. And I run this to run. There it is over there. So I think that is probably not what we want. We want this to be part of the UI. So in here, Scroll pane. So really in the scroll pane. Content timeline. And then BR scroll pane is an element, right? So is it? Yes, it is a BL element. Can we add a child that is not cursor? Cursor. Let's see what happens here if we do this. ID was sent to nil. Self make cursor. And we don't need parentheses here. Okay. So we'll save that, and then where it says self make cursor, we don't need this here. And then to give it a name, though, we will say cursor equals, and then we'll just return cursor. Okay. All right, so down here, what happened here? We have a horizontal pane. Make cursor. And so make cursor, can we just say relocate 0, 0, or is it going to be, is it going to be laid out there? No, okay, so that's not it, right? So, and then child named cursor, is this the cursor? Okay, so let's call this, this is the timeline, so it equals self new. TL child name, we'll call cur is this cursor. Call this GS timeline new. All right, so there's the cursor, and then cur be ignored. I'm thinking that the okay, let's look at the timeline. This is probably not going to work, but if in theory you can click on this and Control Alt Shift and see it. But the problem is that you have all these lines, right? And they're like 200 lines or something, 2,000 lines. No, I think they're 200 lines spaced 10 apart. And then it's 65536 tall. Right, so the GS Grid UI is inside the scrollable element, and the scroll pane the scroll pane is this box right here, and the vertical pane, oh no, so there's a horizontal pane that has these two things next to each other. The vertical pane is that list with supposed to have like a little gap above it. So the UI, it says UI. I don't think I can zoom this, and you also can't see it because of my head, right? So first of all, I'll make my head smaller and wait for the camera to zoom me in. So think that if I think what I want to do is make a new widget that just contains the BR scroll pane and also this cursor. That's what I think I want to do. So in the horizontal pane, make UI, add children, so there's two columns. So let's extract this. So we'll call this track list. Track list is this. What is track list? Track list holder, self track list holder. Self make track list holder. And then self make scroll pane holder. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. All right, so make track list holder, create method track list holder, and then we're gonna return everything that we just copied out, or we cut. Okay. And then same thing, we're going to make a new thing for the scroll pane. And right now that just returns scroll pane. Okay. And so if I run this, it should be the same. Yes. Okay. But now, I'm just thinking about how much easier this would be in Godot, right? Like, yeah, and also even Flutter, because you can, you can dynamically change things on the fly. Okay. That's okay. Not worrying about that right now. In Godot, you're going to have this thing, you have this inspector thing, right? This is something I'm going to build. So I'm going to build this for nope, it's not here. Right, this is what I'm going towards. So I want to have this inspector that would let you change the colors and the geometry and every node that every BL element that you're looking at. Then the timeline is going to be at the bottom of the screen. And then the element tree would be a visual builder for these things. And so as you edit the tree, it probably will be the case that it's just going to build elements on the fly, and then you can just rebuild. So as you edit this tree, it'll rebuild the elements, and so once I have that, I think all this will be a lot easier, right? Like it would be easier to rebuild this in that tool, using that tool, because you have a visual builder for it. That's the kind of thing I want. I want to be able to, compose elements just the way I do in Godot, because now you can make, Godot does composition in a way that I understand, right? It has a thing called a button, and that thing can be themed, but when you put a button on the screen, it has all the features of a button, and then it can, have, it can be stuck inside of a layout and that kind of thing. So that's the kind of like mental model I have. I think it's a lot simpler than what I'm seeing here. I do understand they made some trade-offs because they're trying to make this novel user interface for coding, right? So I don't yet know if that's the right tool for the job. I find it fascinating. I want to learn more about it, but there are some rough edges to it already, and so I'm running up against the limitations of my knowledge and the limitations of the documentation, and having to look at the actual code, and the code is stuff I don't understand in some cases. Okay. Interesting that this is empty right here. This is all white down here. There's these lines should go all the way to the bottom, right? And they do. They're way taller than this little box. They're like 65,000 pixel or points tall. Why is this background here? Is that the scroll pane holder? I don't think so, no, because that does not exist. So the scroll pane holder is going to be something that holds the scroll pane. So we just say and it's going to be laid out by the this is a tree. Yeah. All right, so we have a timeline contains a horizontal pane, a vertical pane, and a scroll pane. So the horizontal pane is going to have the vertical pane on the left. That's the list of children. And then on the right, we have the scroll pane. Okay, the scroll pane is going to be now inside of a scroll pane holder. So the horizontal pane will size this correctly. So whatever I put in here, it should be sized by the horizontal pane. If I just say BL element new, add child, scroll pane, what happens? Detected invalid position, okay. Overview, preview. I've detected an invalid position. Okay, so instead of BL element new, we're going to say BR layout. There is no BR layout. You would think it would be, okay, so BR horizontal pane. What is that? The BR widget container, okay. BR widget container. All right, so let's call that that. Boom. BR widget container new. There we go. Not quite what I wanted though. It actually is what I want here. That actually fits right. It fits exactly the way I want it to fit. This scroll bar doesn't work. Okay. All right, so now instead of scroll pane, add child cursor as cursor. We'll save that, and then we'll make cursor as cursor. And add child himself make cursor as cursor. And then match parent. Do I even need the match parent? I think so, yes, because otherwise it turns into a little tiny square. Yeah. Boom, match parent. Okay. That sizes it the way I expect it to. Now this is on top. And make cursor. That's just up here somewhere. And relocate 0 to 0. We'll say add handler. Add event handler? No, I think it's add handler. Nope, it was add event handler. And then we say BL. I did this. This is like one line of code. BL pull handler. New B horizontal and there's one other constraint you have to put on it. Disallow out of bounds and be horizontal. Okay, so now you can move this cursor back and forth. And I think what I'll do is make this act like a scroll bar. Can I make this opacity? Is there opacity? Opacity 0.25. I don't even know if that works. I guess it worked, but it didn't do anything. Didn't do what I wanted. Very light gray. Alpha. 25. I don't remember if it's alpha or opacity. Yeah. Alpha. A. Let's call it A. And A. And then A equals 0.25. Yeah. Now we can move it and it's a little bit opaque, or rather translucent. And then we'll change that to 0.5 or something. There we go. I like that. And we'll make it as wide as the columns, which I think is 10 pixels. And I'll say CW equals 10. Size CW. That doesn't look right, because it was 8 before, so I don't think that's right. Yeah, it needs to be like 20 or something. That's about like half the size. 20. There we go. And then we can say on event, BL pull event, BL pull end event. When is what the word is. The word is when. Do something. relocate self, relocate self, position X, mod CW at, sorry, mod at self position 1. And that should snap it to the grid. One thing. See, when I let go, oh, it says instance of small float did not understand mod. Why not? Small float, okay. Because it's a float, okay. Self position. Popping up more error messages. As integer. Hello, person who just joined. Okay, it's still popping up error messages. Can't save this until I close this, maybe. Yeah, it's still popping up this error message. Okay, let's look at this color. Control B. Nope, can't do that. I don't know how to recover from this. I'm just getting error messages all over the place over there. I can't close this window. One, two, three, four, five, six. Close 6 error messages. They all say the same thing. And they would all go away if I could save this method and restart this. Okay, well, maybe I can just change this right here. Self position X as int, integer, mod CW, boom. Now rerun. Still not does understand. Still does not. Oh, small float 64 does not understand. Cursor. Don't know what to do. I guess I just close this whole window and then reopen GS timeline. Can't. Can't close the window. What can I do? Can I say self remove event handler for BL pull L end event? I think I can. Nope, cannot. That wasn't enough. I'm thinking maybe I can somehow. God, this is so annoying. I know there's a way to recover from this. Scroll pane, parent, event dispatcher, error handler, const, bounce cap. All right, I'm just going to take a screenshot of the screen, right? I think I can recover this no matter what. Let's just close it. Don't quit. No, I just quit. Cannot quit. Oh, man. This is making me want to quit using Glamorous Toolkit. I think there's a real chance this is just not stable enough to make applications on. Right. It should be up to date. No, logbook is not up to date. Okay, that's fine. Repair. I don't know what's going on there. Doesn't say anything's different. Whatever. Changes. This is how you recover. Weird. I'm not sure why these two separate things exist. Maybe this is from this current. Okay, yeah. This is from since I restarted. This is the one that is what I just had. So recover latest. Okay. Okay, we'll apply that. Can I select all of them and apply them all at once? Yes, and we'll apply. And then I see that it already has make cursor with the as integer, so I think we're good. I think this problem has just gone away now. See. It did. All right, instance the small integer did not understand mob, but that's a different story. Oh man, no it isn't. Okay. So we quit again. We can't kill it. Gonna quit. Yeah, we can't quit. Okay. This is really making me think. I did not want to drop. Man, I do not want to drop this. I hate that I like pick a tool and then. You know, you pick a tool and it doesn't work. It has issues. You have issues with it, so you switch to a different tool, and then that you're gonna have issues with that. You're always gonna have issues. Always gonna have issues. And there's always trade-offs. I feel like this is just not a mature technology, and it's frustrating because I've already like invested. You know, I've already invested time into it, and the UI, the development environment is really nice. Okay, there is an advantage here to be had, right? Right, recover changes. Right, first of all, let's figure out what is the term. What is the term? So if we create just new playground, what actually happened here? I had a situation where I had an event handler that is, you know, I'm trying to do this mod 3, right? That's not a valid name. Okay, fine, not a problem. Integer mod 3, right? Like that's it. Didn't, when I did this, it didn't give me an error. It doesn't know that it's going to be an integer, right? And so now I get this error. And the problem I got is that I was getting this error in the context of an event handler, and that event handler keeps firing and just never lets me do anything. So I've made a mistake, used the system in the wrong way, and prevented anything from ever happening again until you kill the whole system. All right, so what is the actual answer I want here? I don't know. All right, so let's just inspect 5, right? Meta, we want to browse. Arithmetic, right? Mathematical functions. All right, so integer, mathematical functions. Greatest common denominator. Arithmetic. This. Is it this? Go to the comment in number. Okay, so we go up to number, superclass number, and then what is this? This is modulo. Nope, this is modulo. Or negative infinity. Answers the remainder from this division. Okay, so it's double. It's this. It's mod. Right? And we want the remainder. So 10 mod 3 would be 1, right? 1, yes. Print. So this is div, and this is mod. This is div, this is mod. That's what I want. Okay. So that's the thing I actually wanted to type. And because I didn't type that, I got this situation where everything blew up. To be fair, that is the first time that has ever happened to me. I should not just immediately throw in the towel just because You know, I have situations like that in J where you get into an infinite event loop. That just sometimes happens in GUI systems. It sucks. It really sucks when your development environment is, you know, part of the system, right? But that's the price you pay for having your development part. You know, there's a benefit to having your development situation be part of the system. All right, so now we have to recover these changes. Oh, that's the wrong thing. I popped up this thing again. So close this. 6 logs. And we should be 2 back now. Come on, open. 1. Yes. Nope. Okay, so recover latest. And we're going to apply all these. And we're going to confirm. Now, when we go here, we will not allow that. Oops. Cursor as integer, and then we said it was this. That's the rename. That should work. And now, if I do this, this is how I was doing it. Boom. Okay. But no, we actually did want div. Not mod, we wanted div. No, we absolutely do want mod. CW is 20. This should work. It should totally work. Cursor. Oh, is this what cell phone I'm looking at? Cursor. Okay. Yeah, and we want as integer. And that should snap. There we go. So now wherever we drag it, that should snap. Okay, so snap to a frame. Snap to a frame. We know this is 0. That's why it worked for both cases. We'll just set that to 0. The y coordinate is always 0. Boom. 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 Okay, so now when we make the cursor, and then we're gonna add a child. Add child as I'm gonna call it the tail. I don't know what to call this. So this is gonna be it's going to be a BL element new. and it's going to be, size is going to be 1 at 65536. So super tall, it's going to be a line, right? And then we're going to position, relocate to the cursor height. So the cursor height is 16. CH equals 16. We will probably be refactoring this quite a bit. Relocate cursor width divided by 2. So center it and cursor height. And then border is going to be the same thing. Border is same border. Okay. That's tail. All right, now if I save that, then I should have a line coming down right in the middle over wherever I'm at. I do not. If I look at children, I have the widget container containing a cursor, and it has a tail. It's the cursor is clipping its children, right? So we need to tell it to not clip its children. Clip children false. Oops. Detected an invalid position. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Why does that not look like I think because it's scaled, it's not quite even. Because we need that to be a decimal. Like a fraction, yeah. Okay. All right, so we also wanted to snap a little bit. So instead of doing mod, I think we want to add 0.5 there. Snap to closest frame. So we're going to say as integer. How about we move this and then do that as integer? I think that'll fix it already. But if not, oh, it does not. right, so we'll add the 0.5 plus 0.5 x plus 0.5, 0.5. And that should snap it to the closest one. No. Plus yeah, that's what I want. That's perfect. All right, so now it'll snap to whatever one is closest. And that's perfect. Okay. So the next thing will be to make it scroll based on where we put this doohickey. So as I move it over here, I want I want to trigger the scrolling. And as I'm pulling it, it'll cause us to scroll. That's what I want to see. Okay, so let's commit that. How am I doing on time? 1:43. It's 2 o'clock. I have a hard stop at around 2:30. About 45 minutes here. This thing is, I thought I fixed that. Okay. Oh, I think I fixed it and then I, no, still. What are the changes? There are no changes. Shows no changes. But then, okay. Mac track list holder. That's definitely what I want to call it. Mac. Dang it. Oh no, that was just moving it. Make track list. Okay, so commit is timeline, cursor, and what? Cursor snap to frame, cursor tail, and snap to frame. Okay. And now we can go. Right, and my workflow seems to be that every time I save or commit, I try to, I don't need this at all. Every time I commit, I try to save the image so that things work better. Okay, so now I'm a little confused. It was just saying that my connection was not, my internet connection seems to be up, but it is dropping me. Okay. Yeah, it's like a little, like a stoplight here. It's going green, yellow, orange, red, green, yellow, red, green, yellow, red. I don't know how long that's been happening. Doesn't matter. Nothing terribly exciting has happened here. I have all this recorded. you know, whatever. Sorry, not that anyone's watching. I think 2 people have shown up very briefly and disappeared. That's okay. This is for me. This is for me to get done. I know that these streams are not the greatest content in the world. I'm putting stuff on my channel in case people want to watch, but I appreciate the patience of anyone who is watching this, and I expect people will probably skip through it. I don't know. All right. Okay, so now I have this scroll bar thing. So what can I get? So let's see, pane. How about SP is timeline child named, and then what did I call the scroll pane? I don't think I called it anything. Scroll pane, what? What can you do? All right, so if we say scroll pane, scroll to index. Let's say 300, so say 600 and see if it goes to 30. They're 20 apiece. Okay, I didn't do anything. By index did not understand why, so we'll scroll by 100 at 0. There we go. That's weird, right? That's weird that negative 100 scrolls it that way. Right. Maybe that's the effect I saw before. Okay, so try this again. Scroll by 100, and that's going to move the way I expect it to, right? I want it to go, you know, I want it to move to like I expect this to jump to 10. Okay, does not. So then we say negative 10. And it jumps to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And that's as far as it goes. It seems weird to me that that's the case, but okay. So the numbers go that way. Fine. I definitely want to add a click behavior too. When you click somewhere, it jumps, like up here, it jumps to that spot. And then moves the camera in there. I want it, when I moved it this way, start scrolling. But I can't do that on the animation handler. I can tell it to start scrolling in the animation handler, but the animation handler is only going to be fired. I mean, the pull handler is only going to be fired once. So I need to start an animation. Right? I need a recurring event. I need like a timer now that's going to trigger an event every few milliseconds or something. I know how to do that, I think. I don't know it off the top of my head. One of the Leopard. Leopard is the database of these pages where you can implement like little docs and a wiki kind of stuff. I've collected all my notes about this into this thing called Blockbook, which is a new GitHub repository that it's not really a book yet. It's just everything that I have about this. So this example, I think I've shown this a couple times, but add animation. I don't want a duration. DL base animation. I think it's a task. I think we say add task. Oh, that's not a class, right? So DL task. Examples. So n element in Q task task. Task action done. So a task action and action. And equals done. So what is a task? DL task action. DL task. Action block. Oh, I see. Done is the name of something that will. Done is the name of a method here. No. What is happening? An element is DL element. A task is a task action. Cert task is new. Okay. An action equals task action done. So this is a closure. Task has this thing called action, yes, and the block is done. Self action is closure. Okay. Okay, so if it's a closure, then run it. Otherwise, value, right? Self action value. I think this does nothing. Like done value does nothing, right? We just say like done, it just returns itself. Done value just returns itself. Returns done. Okay. So what I can do is all right, so we'll say same thing, right? Maybe even copy that. You kind of do want the animation because it, like maybe the animation has something that gives timing information, because like this is gonna immediately, I'm gonna make this immediately scroll to the thing. So task, yeah, we'll call it a task for whatever reason. A task is BL task action new, self assert, a task is new, I don't care about that. An action, a task action equals done. We're gonna make it scroll, and we want it to scroll the other way, right? Okay. I'm gonna say 20. A task action equals done. Maybe there's got to be like a timing action, right? Build task, and if I do class hierarchy, BL animation, repeated task, delayed task. Maybe there's a repeated delayed task. Repeated task action. I bet that's it. Repeated task delay. Yeah. Okay, so I think we say a repeated task action. And then tell it to stop. Yeah, so wake up at delay. So the delay is between frames, which is what you want. Okay, so we say BL repeated task and delay is some frame. Okay, so if we come back here, no, where am I going? Do I even have this page open anymore? So right here, we're going to say an action, and then we're going to say, oops, task is BL repeated task action. Example. Oh. Was it way over here? BL repeated task action. Okay, so BL repeated task action, new, and then action, a task action. Oh, we don't even need this, which so action is this. So the action is to scroll the scroll bar. And then we'll call this dx is equal to -1. Dx times 0 minus dx. Oh, we don't need dx. Yes, we don't need the negative sign. Okay, so we're going to scroll it by dx, whatever that is. And then we'll be able to say a task stop or whatever if we want. And so, and then we'll give it a delay of what's the duration? A duration. Example duration. 2 seconds, okay. 2 seconds. So we can say 0.5 seconds. Or we can say 10 milliseconds. So every 10 milliseconds, we're going to scroll by dx, and then, so now we'll say scroll pane in queue task, a task. And we'll run this. And there it's scrolling. Okay, and then if we change, can I clip that? Can I make that a highlight? I don't know how to do that. The 234 mark, that's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna see if I can clip that. 234. I have a pencil. Okay. Oh, and I lost my camera. Dang nabbit. I don't know how to recover this camera thing. Oh my gosh. This happens to me at work sometimes, and okay. All right, well, I lost my camera. That's okay. Don't need a camera. So what do? I just changed to upper right 1080p with no camera. All right, lost my camera, but that's okay. Okay, so it's because I don't know, the wire got loose or something. I don't know what triggers it exactly. But that's okay. I do need to stop pretty soon anyway. So if I a control break here. This should still be running. And if I say dx is equal to 1, and I evaluate it, now it scrolls the other way. Okay, and so if I say dx is equal to negative 0.001, now it's scrolling too slow. 0.5. How about just 0.1? No, that's not even good enough. 0.5 is too fast. 0.2. 0.15 maybe. All right. All right, and then now while that's running, we're going to say I'm going to have to bounce back the other way. A task stop. Oh, that did it. Okay, so just a task stop. And then can I start it again? But I think when you stop it, it's no longer queued. Right. You have to run this part again. And then if you okay, well, right, and then negative, boom, and then stop it. Okay. So I think with these three components or these three steps, I don't have like garbage collector or whatever is what I'm getting at. So I think that if I do that, then what do I need to do? I need to say if this is right. So basically, I think the more I scroll it to the right or left, the more it's going to make this thing scroll. Okay, so here, this should be called cursor, right? Cursor position. I just need to print it 580. So what I really want is cursor position x minus, or rather, the holder, right? Parent extent x. Get out of the way. If I print that, yes, minus cursor position x. It's 36. If I put it all the way to the right, interesting. Is that because it's we don't know how wide it is, right? I need to take the scroll position into account here. But what do I do? I'm not going to worry about the scroll position just yet. I need to make this offset be like an integer offset. Yeah, I don't need the scroll bar. I need to have this come down here, and then it should just scroll on its own. That's what I want. And then maybe when this works, I'll put the scroll bar back in. Okay. All right. So when this distance if so is it to the left? Less than. All right, so that is 700, and then when I get it way over here, the extent is always going to be great. So if is always going to be greater than the position. So if the extent is less than, or if the distance is less than what do I call it? Region, like a distance. Oh, no, my other camera just went out. Oh, no, it didn't. I was going to switch over to the other camera. Yeah, that's. If it's less than I don't know what this number is, like active zone equals 50. Less than active zone, that's not a good name. If true, then dx is equal to negative 0.15. This is not gonna. I'm gonna have to do some thinking about this, and then scroll pane in queue task, a task, right? So if I run this right now, nothing. If I get it close, task cannot be submitted twice. All right, so I have to make a new task. Okay. And we'll say a task. Yes, now it scrolls. And then we want it to stop, right? Okay, was that also scrolling the right way, right? Was that scrolling the right way? Yes, it was. Oh. That seems wrong to me. False, right? So I think what we wanted to say is a task stop. If not nil, or what if we just keep running this? Can we just keep running this over and over again? Yeah. Okay. So if not nil, stop. If not nil, stop. And this is gonna be. Can we say this? Yeah, I think that works. I'm not sure. And then if I run this, does that work? Yeah, it does. Okay. Because it sends itself to the stop as value. So it says stop value colon a task, right? And so this needs to be the pull handler. So on make scroll pane, make cursor, and If I put this here, and I stick this inside the pull handler, now that's on the end event. So when BL pull event do, and so this is going to be a temp. That actually could be in the GS timeline. And then a task is going to be a temporary variable here, up at the top. Yeah. Right. And dx is also be up here. All right, this just needs some refactoring, but I think this works. Temp shadow CW. All right, so we don't need that. That is already the same. And if I run this now, oh, okay. I think if I move this close to the edge, it starts scrolling. Yeah. Look at that. Boom, 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 boom. Cool beans, dudes. All right. Yeah, that's a clip for you. Okay, and then how about a task if nil, a task equals a repeated task new with a delay of 10 milliseconds. Delay 10 milliseconds. And then, if not nil, and then if not nil, stop. Okay. If not nil, stop. If not nil, stop. And then, if it's less than the active zone, if true, then a task action how about we say this? We say dx is equal to 0, and then we'll say if true, dx is equal to 0.15, negative 0.15, and then cursor parent cursor position x less than active zone. If true, dx is equal to 0.15, and then dx not equal to 0 if true, then a task action equals scroll the pane by that much. And scroll pane and queue task. Hey, what is all this? This is all inside of the event handler, okay? Probably we should break that off and do its own little thing. But I think this works. I think this is now going to scroll in both directions. And oh. Failed to enqueue task. Task must not be nil. But it is a repeated task. Okay, it doesn't tell me why. What's wrong with that? You should be able to enqueue it if it's... I'm actually quite happy with that code, so why isn't it working? What is the problem? Enqueue. This is failed to enqueue a task. Failed to enqueue a task. Basic add task. If on task enqueue. So it's just some error. Failed to print string. Task. Failed to enqueue a task. I mean, that's got to be coming. Wow, look at this. Coming here, propane enqueue task. Space enqueue task is attached to scene graph. Oh, self is attached to scene graph. What? If true, then yes. Okay, it is true. Next, then self task queue enqueue that task. Must not be nil. Task must be new. Any state in the task should have also been reset. We don't. So it just failed, and we don't know why. So task was added if no put. All right. Well, I got a mystery, and I've got errors all over my screen, and I have to go pick up my daughter from camp. So I think it's time to end this stream. Yeah, this is what I look like without my little magic background here on my other camera. I'll have to figure out how to get my camera working again. It's died in the middle of the stream, and I will come back to this later. So maybe not tonight. I don't know what it's going to be like with my kid here. So we'll see, but I will definitely be back tomorrow. And I'll probably post some post some stuff I recorded earlier as a edited video, like a 10-minute talk on how I made the slider to begin with. Yeah, animation all this week. Hopefully it'll move a little bit faster going forward, but we'll see.